In this video, we want to express each sum or difference as a product of sines and or cosines. So we have sine of 4 theta plus sine of 2 theta. And for the second problem, cosine of x over 2 minus cosine of 3x over 2. I want to start, or if you think you can solve these problems as they are, go ahead and pause the video and attempt them. Again, you want to write them as a product of sines and or cosines. But I'll go into more explanation if you need it. Now we can derive the formulas basically using the formulas for the cosine of a difference of two angles, cosine of a sum of two angles, and also in some cases using the sine of a sum of two angles, sine of a difference of two angles. So here's your formula for cosine of a minus b and cosine of a plus b. I've done some videos with that in the past, and I'm sure you've seen some other problems using those formulas. So we can do this one way. We can just add these up, and this cancels out, and we get this added to this, this added to this. So on the, well, let me just take the right side first. So we had cosine of a, cosine of b, one and two of those. So we have 2 cosine of a, cosine of b. So it's going to equal to the sum of the other side. So I'm adding the two equations, adding the left side to the left side, the right side to the right side, and then this part here cancels. So then I'm going to add this cosine of a minus b plus the cosine of a plus b. So you notice on the left side I have a product, on the right side I have a sum. So let's solve for this part right here. So I'm going to divide through by 2. So that's going to cancel this 2 over here, make it a 1 if you want. And on the right side I'm going to divide by 2. So this will be 1/2 of that sum that I have in the parentheses. So cosine of a, cosine of b is equal to 1/2 the sum of the cosine of the difference of the two angles and the cosine of the sum of the two angles. Now let's subtract the two. Subtract the second equation from the first. So in this case, this is going to cancel. And then here I'm subtracting, so this becomes a plus. So that's going to give me a 2 sine of a, sine of b. And that's going to equal to the sum, or the difference. Actually, I'm subtracting the second equation from the first. So on the other side then, I'm going to have cosine a minus b minus the cosine a plus b. And then I'm going to divide by 2. I'm going to have a 1/2 over here on this side then. Dividing both sides by 2. And this 2 becomes a 1. So I have sine of a times sine of b is equal to 1/2 cosine of a minus b minus the cosine of a plus b. So I get two formulas here. And the point I'm making here is that this is how you can derive the formulas that we're going to look at right now. Sum to product formulas. So if you have a sum here, sine of a plus sine of b, you can write it as a product. 2 times the sine of the sum of the two angles divided by 2, cosine of the difference of the two angles divided by 2, and so on. So you can see the formulas there. Now these formulas are used more in advanced mathematics if you're, say, working some problems in calculus integration. Sometimes you're taking the integral of a product of two trig functions, and it makes it a lot easier if you can write that same product as a sum or a difference. So these are your formulas going from a sum to a product, sum to a product. And then over here, these are the ones that I'm going to be using. So product to a sum sine of A, sine of B equals to 1/2, and you can see what the formulas are right there. And so this is the way those were derived, using either the sine of a sum of two angles, sine of the difference, or it could be cosine of a sum of two angles, A and B, and the cosine of the difference. And then using these formulas here, you can derive the ones for product. How to go from a sum to a product. We have the sine of A plus the sine of B is equal to this setup here. Twice the sine of the sum of the angles over 2 times cosine of the difference of the angles divided by 2. So you can pause and look at those formulas. But in our case, it wants you to express each sum or difference as a product of sines and cosines. So we're going from a sum to a product. So here we have it, going from a sum to a product. So this one has a sine of an angle plus a sine of an angle. So we look at the ones that go from sum to product, and you want to pick the one that has the sine of an angle plus the sine of an angle. This one has the difference of the sines of those angles. This one is the cosine. Over here, this is the cosine. So the one we want is the first one there. Sine of A plus the sine of B is equal to twice sine of A plus B over 2, cosine A minus B over 2. So using that formula then, this is equal to, so this would be the sine, and it has a 2 right here as a coefficient. And it's the sum of the angles divided by 2. So 4 theta plus 6 theta, 4 theta plus 2 theta is 6 theta, and that's divided by 2. So that's 3 theta. And then the second function is cosine. And in this case, it's the difference. So 2 sine, the sum of the two angles divided by 2, and over here it's the difference of the two angles divided by 2. So 4 theta minus 2 theta is 2 theta divided by 2 is theta. So we want to write this sum as a product using those formulas. It's going to be 2 sine 3 theta cosine theta. Okay, for the difference here, for the number 2, this one has cosine of an angle minus cosine of an angle. So you'll find the one that matches. It's the difference of cosines on the left, going to a sum to a product. So it's this one right here. So it's going to be cosine of A minus cosine of B is equal to negative 2 sine of the sum of the two angles divided by 2 times the sine of the difference of the two angles divided by 2. You go over here then. This will equal to. So it's minus 2. That's the formula. Then it's the sine of this sum of the two angles. So it's x over 2 and 3x over 2. That's 4x over 2, which is 2x. And that's divided by 2. And that's times the sine. And now this one is a difference, x over 2 minus 3x over 2. So that'd be minus 2x over 2, which is minus x. X minus 3x, x over 2 minus 3x over 2 is minus 2x over 2. The 2's divide out. That gives me a minus x. But that result is divided by 2. So we have a 2 there. So this is equal to. Notice the sine function is an odd function, so I can bring out this negative here to make it simpler. So bring out the negative that multiplies the coefficient over here, so this negative 2 becomes a positive 2. And then simplify that first one there, 2x over 2 is x. And that's going to be times the sine. Okay, the negative already came over here, and then we're left with x over 2. And that simplifies. That's your simplified answer. More on these types of problems in the next video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.